Breaking news in a CBS Sports HQ. According to multiple reports, the greatest of all time is calling it a career. After 22 seasons in the NFL, Tom Brady is set to retire. Brady walks away from the game a 7-time champion, a 3-time league MVP, and a 5-time Super Bowl MVP. The 44-year-old retiring as the NFL's all-time leader in passing yards, touchdowns, and completions. All right, let's react to it all with CBS senior NFL writer Jonathan Jones. JJ, it appeared that this news was imminent or at least coming in the following days and weeks, and here we are on Saturday talking about the retirement of Tom Brady after 22 seasons. I'm going to ask you some questions you may not have the answers to here, JJ. First of them being, how do you characterize a career so vast, so historic, so multifaceted? When I say Tom Brady, the first words that come to mind for you are what?
Well, it's GOAT. I mean, he is the greatest quarterback of all time. And if that Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons didn't cement that, then the next Super Bowl when they beat the LA Rams should have cemented it. And if that didn't do it, that he could part ways with Bill Belichick and the dynastic New England Patriots. And during a year in a once-in-a-century global pandemic, join a team with whom he had almost no familiarity or background, and could lead the team in one of the more trying seasons that we've seen in NFL history to a legitimate Super Bowl, the 7th, something that no one has ever done before. That's greatness. And whether you want to call him the greatest football player of all time, obviously, you can have a debate about Jim Brown. You can have a debate about Jerry Rice. But the fact that Tom Brady won as many championships as he did, set these records at a time where the quarterbacks have never played the game better. He played it with Peyton Manning, who very well could be the best all-time quarterback if Tom Brady didn't exist. That he was able to win these championships with legitimate competition all around him, coming at him, that he was able to do it across 2 different franchises, but most importantly, of course, with the New England Patriots, and just being such a model of success and owning that division and really owning the conference. I mean, what he was able to do and to get to the AFC title game, where it was almost a birthright every year. It's really hard to win in the NFL, and Tom Brady and his teams always made it look easy. That's why he is, without question, the greatest quarterback of all time.
You will hear no argument from my side here, JJ, but with 22 seasons under his belt, still playing at an extremely high level, was dancing around top marks across the league here in terms of passing yards and passing touchdowns throughout the season. Obviously, they fall short of the ultimate standard of Tom Brady, which is nothing less of a championship. But what made this the right time for Tom Brady to retire?
Well, if you listen and take him at his word, it's certainly that he wants to be more of a family man. When you look at how his kids are growing up and how he wants to be around a little bit more, that this season, last season, obviously, were trying seasons for him. He's up there in age. I mean, he's 44 years old. If he had played a game next season, then he would have been the oldest ever starting quarterback in NFL history. It appears Steve DeBerg is going to hold on to that record for some time now, but he makes the decision because of family. He makes the decision certainly because of health. I think that he makes the decision because of legacy. I mean, the fact is he went out away from Bill Belichick, away from the New England Patriots, and won it legitimately. Outside of that, he could have ridden off into the sunset last year and still been very easily the GOAT. Decided to come back this year. Mounts an incredible comeback in the playoffs, of course, right? Down 27 points. And they just didn't have the ball at the end. The defense obviously let them down there. But when you look at it, there's some football competition involved here as well. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the first team in, 50 years to bring back everyone from a Super Bowl winning team. But, in the free agency era, certainly the only team who was able to do that. They weren't going to be able to do that this year, certainly after not making the Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl. That was going to be very difficult. So when you look at the free agents to be there, when you look at, okay, there's Chris Godwin and there's Leonard Fournette, and you got to figure out with Gronk, and you have Ndamukong Suh who could leave, JPP, the list continues on and on. Tom Brady may have also made a calculated decision that, hey, we got the band back together for this run. We came up short. Really hard to believe that we're going to be able to field as competitive of a football team in 2022.
JJ, you bring up something there that I want to touch upon and delve deeper into. You mentioned the game against LA, the would-be comeback gone wrong with Cooper Kupp taking one over the top and a game-winning field goal there by LA. Do you think we're sitting here having the same conversation if they get their doors blown off and never come back in that scenario? Can Tom Brady go out like that? Because he goes out respected, obviously, regardless of how that game would have gone, but a respectable finish to the career with making that comeback, getting the score back even. Do you think this was easier on him to make this decision because of the way that game ended?
You know, it's a good question, Joe. And as our Jason La Canfora wrote when he reported that this decision was imminent and was leaning retirement as recently as yesterday, he noted how much of a football historian Tom Brady is. And I think Brady, certainly in terms of football age and mortality, understands that, hey, you don't always get to write the perfect ending to your story. It's very, very rare. Peyton Manning went out with a Super Bowl, but he did it with a defense that carried him when he was one of the worst football players on that field in Super Bowl 50. Tom Brady was still operating at an incredibly high level. If not for Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady would be this year's MVP. But he also understands that, hey, just because I've won 7 Super Bowls doesn't mean that the 8th is ever going to happen. And again, this was their best opportunity. If you want to project into the future, did they have a better chance this year or next year with all of those free agents to be actually bringing them back or fielding another competitive team? It was going to be difficult for Tom Brady and that group to do it. So, yeah, he goes out on somewhat of a high mark. It doesn't meet his standard, as you say, Joe, of course, not winning the Super Bowl. But Super Bowls are hard to win, and he's made them look easy. So would he love to be able to ride out with a Super Bowl championship, his 8th, and say, that's it, that's all, folks? Of course. But I think that he looked at the reality of the situation and said, that's really, really hard to do. And so let's go ahead and do what feels right rather than continuing to chase, watching his skills diminish and ultimately not looking like the quarterback that he wants to look like as he leaves the game for the final time.
JJ, we will talk about this news for the days and weeks to come, I am sure. But before we let you go here, Tom Brady was famous for always saying, when asked what his favorite ring is, he would always answer the next one. There is no next one. So I ask you, which one is the one?
I mean, oh, gosh. That he got the first one, of course, I'm sure that holds an incredible sentimental value to him. But without question, it's 28-3, right? I mean, it's the Atlanta, right, in Houston. I was there in that game, coming back from 16 points down there late in the fourth quarter, getting those 2-point conversions, winning the coin toss, going down and getting that touchdown. That cemented the legacy of Tom Brady. That has to be the one for me of his 7. You know, this Tampa one was very, very special, but just being there in that stadium and always thinking, oh, there's no way that this can happen. Oh, the Falcons have this locked up just based on everything that I know about football.
Math.
The Falcons have this math, right? And that it still happened right in front of your eyes, just absolutely incredible.
Jonathan, we appreciate the insights. We appreciate you being available here on short notice and for trying to categorize the career that was for the great Tom Brady. Waive the 5 years, put him in the Hall tomorrow. Thank you, JJ. All right, let's take a look at some of those accolades. I mean, no one full screen can encapsulate what this man has meant to the game. As someone who's never rooted for or against a Tom Brady team, it was a pleasure to watch, and we were all lucky to do so. Brady from age 23 to 27, 3-0 in the Super Bowl, 37 to 41, 4-1. So really a career in 3 acts, and if you look at it, more passing yards and passing touchdowns in his 40s than in his 20s. Greatness sustained.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.